Liquor traders are pleading for an urgent meeting with government to discuss the alcohol ban. The National Liquor Traders Council and Liquor Traders Association of South Africa says that the livelihoods of nearly 300,000 people are being affected currently. The associations are mainly asking for 20,000 rand financial support for a tavern, UIF TERS support and rental relief. Like Ntimane is with the Liquor Traders Formation. He's joining us by Skype from Johannesburg tonight. Lucky, good to have you on as always. So this is not the first time that you've basically begged and pleaded for government to lift the restrictions on the sale of alcohol. Why do you think this time will produce a different result?
Good evening, Thembekile and Faith, and good evening to eNCA viewers as well. Thank you for the opportunity. Always a pleasure talking to you. We were hoping that our pleas will find positive response from government, but I've just been alerted to the fact that the President has mentioned as early as yesterday that government does not have money to support anyone who's been affected by COVID-19, more especially the liquor traders. So it will then seem that our letter is going to fall on deaf ears because there isn't any money to support us. But we're then saying to the President in that regard, allow us to operate so that we can make our own money like we've been doing for the past 100 years. If you're not able to help us, we are able to help ourselves. All we need is an opportunity to operate and trade as we've been doing in the past, and we do so in a responsible manner. So we're hoping that we should be able to have an audience with the President. And I'm happy to announce, Thembekile, that the letter that we sent this afternoon to the President has been responded to by the DDG in his office, saying that the President is going to be made aware of such a submission that we've made, and that should communicate with the DTI as well in terms of the industry-specific requests that we've made. So we are hopeful that we should be able to have an audience with the President in the next coming days. We have reached pandemic proportions as far as livelihoods is concerned, and we'd like to urge the President to really consider our letter and meet with us as a matter of urgency, because we now have a pandemic of poverty that has bedeviled our sector, and we are hopeful that he should meet with us and should be able to find a way forward in terms of us getting a relief that we want. But the most important part, we want the alcohol ban lifted.
And let me ask you this then, how urgent is your urgent? Because it's one thing to get a commitment from the DDG saying, look, the President will hear about your letter, but how much time do you think can be spared at this point before most of the businesses that you represent have to shut down, whether the ban is lifted or not?
Our members only have 7 days to survive. After that, it's one-way traffic to poverty. So we've given the President 7 days to respond, fail of which we look at other alternatives. But we would like to believe, based on his utterances on Friday, after SAB had pulled back the 2.5 billion investment, as well as Consol 1.5 billion pullback of investment, that he wants to talk to the industry. We're saying to the President, this is a perfect opportunity for him to talk to us so that we can find solutions that continue to support the COVID-19 efforts of government, but also that also seek to almost support the livelihoods of the people that are dependent on the alcohol sector, which numbers 1 million in total.
I'm glad you bring up SAB, because I wanted to ask you about this. There appears to be a bit of a divide, at least in approach, between the old established guard in the form of SAB and yourselves as organizations that speak for mainly small and black-owned businesses. To what extent would you say the bigger players and yourselves are pulling in the same direction? Are you working together?
All liquor manufacturers in the country have really come together and supported small black-owned businesses, and more especially taverns and shopping permit holders. So we respect SAB's decision to take government to court to seek relief on issues that they feel aggrieved, and we support those sentiments that they've highlighted in their submission. So there is support in the industry. We are closing rank. We are supporting one another. We feel that the injury to one is an injury to all, and we should come together and support SAB in its effort to seek relief, because we will benefit out of that relief. So as liquor traders, we fully support the initiatives taken by SAB, but not only that, all the other industry players, as well as the entire alcohol value chain, including Consol.
You're pushing, of course, to be clear tonight, you want off-site consumption of alcohol to be allowed, right?
Yes, with immediate effect.
All right. Something else that was going on then, because this is for off-site consumption. There are people who would say they run restaurants and they sell alcohol as well, and often many of us who do go to a restaurant would like our meal to go down with a glass of wine. But there have been criticisms in the past that restaurants, nightclubs and the likes have in the past led you down this road, because when alcohol was indeed allowed in the latter part of last year, at least on-site consumption, there were issues with a lot of them packing these establishments with people in violation of regulation, not following some of the other safety protocols that come with operating these establishments. what commitment would you give if that call were to be put on the table to say, hey, let's relook on-site consumption as well?
Look, we support our on-site colleagues. We operate mainly as taverns, as on-site. But to understand the realities that are facing us in the township space, that in order for us to fully support government's efforts in fighting against COVID-19 pandemic, we ought to operate as off-premise, where we allow people to come and buy and enjoy liquor at the comfort of their own home. But when we look at a bigger picture, we feel that it would be a right move by government to consider also the issue of on-premise, because that supports not only the pubs or the restaurants, but as well as the entire hospitality sector, the hotels, all those places of interest where people like to visit. Those depend in large part to liquor being available. So we really support that call that all sectors or all parts of the alcohol industry should be open, so that we as a country can move forward and be able to address the issue of livelihoods, which seems to be reaching a pandemic proportions, but also supporting the issue of lives, which is very important. This is not something that we need to ignore.
But what do you do then about the rogue elements in the alcohol industry? Because there are people who did flout regulations and pack their establishments with people with no social distancing. The issue of the wearing of masks, for example, when people are drinking, has been brought into question.
Thembekile, you always get those. And we like to call on our law enforcement agencies to really play their part and assist us as a country, the economy, to ensure that those are rooted out. Anyone who flouts the regulations should stand to lose their license, unfortunately. We cannot have elements that seek to undermine the good behavior of those that are doing well and are well-meaning and are supporting their families by doing things right. So anyone who is caught, not following the regulations should unfortunately suffer the consequences. We do not support such rogue elements, and we feel that they do not have any space or any role to play in the alcohol industry, as it were.
Like Ntimane from the Liquor Traders Formation, good to speak to you as always. Thank you.